It's Monday, and that's the start of the dessert series for the week. At least that's something to look forward to for Monday. I hope it hasn't been that bad. Anyways, YouTube gumph, blah blah, subscribe, blah blah, yaggity schmack. The usual stuff. I just want to give a quick thanks to the Tier 5 channel members and patrons. Bob the Dragon, Data Magnet, Sergeant Puma, Cat Crab Lobster, and Duck Machine. Thank you very much for the support. It is much appreciated. Onwards to the story. When Deathworlders Meet, Part 6. Life-harboring worlds were graded on a scale for habitability to sentient life. A Class 1 world was a perfect garden world. Class 2 worlds might have chilly weather. His own world was considered rather austere, good for developing a tough and hardy people. It was a Class 5. Class 6 worlds were tough places that few visited. Some of the fiercest warrior peoples came from them. They got worse as the numbers went up. There was only one race participating in the galactic community from a Class 8 world, and most people avoided them at all costs. From there, they became even harsher and more hazardous to sentient life, all the way up to Class 10 worlds, which were considered uninhabitable. Death worlds. Sentience could not come from a death world. Of course, just because something had never happened before didn't mean that it could never happen. He just wished that it hadn't have happened on his ship. The habitation scale for temperature planets was pretty linear from 1 to 10. It was supposed to end there. But at some point, scientists noticed that there were worlds which went to such great lengths to exterminate all life that they far surpassed even Class 10. Learned minds developed an extended scale, and each step in that scale was exponentially more deadly than the previous one. Class 11 worlds, like Nyx, home of the night beasts, were almost a joke. A 1 to 10 scale turned up to 11. As for Class 12, well, he hadn't heard of such a thing until this very moment, when it had suddenly stopped being funny. Is, something wrong? The creature asked. Keep it talking, damn it. His mind pleaded with his body, willing his tongue to move as his lips to part. No, not at all, the captain said, clasping his hands together in an effort to get them to stop shaking. He had an idea, half-formed and conceived in terror, but an idea nonetheless. Carefully, he turned his datapad back on. He had to type much slower. His fingers kept missing the correct spots, even on the second and third tries. He typed with 2, then 3 digits tightly pressed together to lessen the shaking. This time, his message was to Ginter, the ship's vet. Have you completed the drug yet? A few moments later came a long reply. No. We've been testing the different things on blood and tissue samples, but nothing seems to work. And even if it did, we probably wouldn't be able to manufacture enough of it aboard for it to matter. What about the night beast tranquilizer? He typed. Might work. The two are similar, high metabolic rate, blood-based and iron-carrying oxygen, other things. Or it might do nothing. She was damn right that they were similar, but if it didn't work, how many doses do we have left? Only 2. If the human is compliant, it only makes sense to save them in case we need them for her. He let out a slow breath of air, closed his eyes, and concentrated. She was right, of course. This thing, less than a meter from him, was compliant for the moment. Pointing a weapon like a dart gun at it would almost certainly trigger it to kill. Unlike a night beast, there was no possible way a creature as smart and as advanced as this would not know what a gun was. And this ship was too small to allow it to be shot from a relative safety of great distance. In these confines, he had no doubt that the thing could kill or disarm, literally, an attacker faster than anyone aboard could even pull the trigger. And all that was assuming that the night beast sedative would even work. He could also forget locking it in its cabin. For one, it could probably beat down the thin door without much trouble. For another, that would only postpone the problem. It would eventually find out that it was taken by a slave ship. If night beasts were any indication, Deathworlders could not just accept that fact, regardless of the circumstances or conditions. When it would find out, well, He would maybe hope that it would be after finding a buyer and making a sale, but Anticton couldn't be certain. Until then, it would be like having an unexploded warhead rolling around in storage. Or worse, a primitive Class 11 would just kill everyone aboard, steal his ship, and escape home. An advanced Class 12. Not even Anticton's family was safe. 7 hells, the thing would probably take his ship, infiltrate his homeworld, find a way to blow it up, and then escape home. Anticton had to deal with this now, so the drugs were a complete waste. Honestly, had the veterinarian been watching vids of this entire time, couldn't she appreciate how potentially dangerous this thing was? He needed another idea, something that he could actually use. He might be able to think of a way to fool it, to take advantage of its current willingness to cooperate in order to eliminate it as a threat. That meant a battle of wits with a being whose race had intelligence as its only natural weapon, an intelligence which allowed them to evolve on, survive on, thrive on, and probably, like most sentients, dominate on its home world. And that home world was a death world. They were all going to die, painfully. I agree with your assessment, thank you, he typed to Ginter, wondering if it would be his last message. Better to go out with some sense of satisfaction. Before tomorrow, I need you to clean out the waste chutes and all the slave quarters. Yes, all of them. Despite his almost complete inability to think of anything beyond getting the hells out of there. One more idea passed its way through his forebrain only because he had already been toying with the notion earlier. He just had to calm himself and maintain enough control to carry it out. It wasn't going to be pretty, but it was probably the only thing Anticton could do to keep himself, his ship, and most of his merchandise in one piece. If the Night Beast somehow died, it was only a financial loss. He would be in debt to his investor, maybe sold into slavery if he had to default, but he'd be alive. He might even be able to buy his way out of it eventually. On the other hand, if the human died, he would build a shrine to the 5 Lords of Heaven, regardless of the outcome. He saw no other choice. I want to give you a tour of the ship, he smoothly told the creature. How does that sound? Yeah, sure, the thing said. The captain swallowed his sigh of relief. Together they walked from deck to deck and room to room, the captain explaining briefly what each part of the ship was used for. He had to make most of it up, as he wasn't too clear on what his crew did, what they did, or why or how they did it. For their part, the crew were thankfully silent as the odd pair walked about, knowing better than to ask questions. Either that, or they were too put off by the rumors of the human that were doubtlessly already spreading. Though he showed the crew quarters, the captain made sure to avoid the standing slave cells amidship. That would have raised too many questions. As for the special slave cell, well, they were going to go visit that one now. I noticed there are dozens of different species represented here, said the cheerful human as they walked. I talked to your executive officer about it earlier. It's wonderful, you know. A whole galactic community up here, just waiting for humanity to join. The creature seemed so earnest to Anticton, but at the same time he couldn't help but feel like it was onto his ruse and was implying a veiled threat. He could imagine it smiling as it happily slaughtered its way through every living thing aboard, all the while saying how much it wanted to meet his whole community. Oh yes, there are more than a few races aboard, the captain agreed. We cannot wait for a people as nice as you to join us either. In fact, as a representative of your people, I think it is extremely important that you meet all of the races of the galactic community. I can't do much about the ones we don't have aboard here. How many are there? Other races in the galaxy? The captain's pace staggered. Was it normal for this creature's people to interrupt, or was it trying to throw him off? Well, I don't know for sure, he replied. What about on the ship? 26 different races, I believe, he replied, though the numbers changed so frequently. In truth, he had no idea, but the thing had said he'd seen dozens aboard, so... The human nodded, and they continued on their way. As I was saying, it'll be important when you return to your kind to have fully interacted with as many different races of people as possible. There is someone special I would like you to meet. How is your night vision? The captain asked, opening the door to a darkened room at the base of the large ramp. Captain Anticton held his breath. the thing's next answer would doom or save him. Not good, he said. Why? He thanked every god, lord, and demon he could think of. Because we're going to go say hello, he said, gesturing for the human to enter the pitch-black cargo hold. As the human entered, Anticton remained a pace behind him. It's dark in here because she's nocturnal. She won't mind being woken up to meet you, though. No, not at all. Let me find a light switch. 1 second. Where is it? Maybe over here? The cargo bay door slammed shut in front of him with a reverberating thud, trapping the human on the other side with the night beast. End of chapter. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed.